between Crimea and Russia, and you have a photo of that meeting between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and Crimean officials in Moscow. They're all smiles as they signed that treaty to annex Crimea. It's a different story, though, in a lot of other papers. Let's take a look at some other front pages. The International New York Times talks about Putin's claims Crimea for Russia. So a very different choice of terminology there with that word claim, which you can also find on the front page of the Wall Street Journal today, which also has that same word. Putin claims Crimea, ignoring the fallout. That's the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
And a lot of papers wondering what Putin's motives are for all of this.
That's right. Why Putin did it. That's what Christopher Dickey asks today in the Daily Beast. Now, according to this article, what this is really about is pride. Basically, winning back Crimea is about winning back the pride that was lost when the Berlin Wall fell. And according to Christopher Dickey, during that speech yesterday, Putin really described more than 2 decades of humiliation that Russia felt from America and the West. And it's interesting because there's another article, this time in The Independent, from Mary Dejevsky, kind of agrees with this point of view, says that it's also about ego here. Basically, Putin is finding his legacy in the fallout from Crimea. Yesterday's speech was a victory speech, and to many Russians, this all appears to be a historic achievement, and this could be what Putin's presidency is remembered for.
And of course, the West already talking about sanctions and potential further sanctions. How are the papers seeing that?
Well, let's take a look at China Daily. Look at what the Chinese are thinking about all of this. You can see a cartoon here where there's a very giant-looking sanction looking down on Vladimir Putin there. The annexation could bring Moscow heavy financial liabilities, but if we take a look at the Wall Street Journal and their editorial today, they actually say that these sanctions are unserious. Now, this is a conservative paper, so it's not surprising that they're lambasting Obama, but they're really calling his calibrated sanctions list weak and actually ridiculous, and says that it actually helped lift the Russian stock market. Now, maybe he should have taken a page from the New Yorker's book. There's a really funny satirical piece by Andy Borowitz where he imagined what could have happened if the U.S. froze Putin's Netflix account. And according to this article, unless he calls off the annexation, no more House of Cards for him. It's a really funny article that points out that might be a major ramping up of sanctions there.
Could cloak it, couldn't they, like Stephen's last story. Now, Flo's also put out a cartoon in the International New York Times. It suggests that Obama got his foreign policy priorities very wrong.
That's right. Throughout his presidency, Obama has been saying that he really wants to focus more on Asia. This is a cartoon from Chapat, where you can see Obama's foreign policy ship is really in need of some repair there, and the mechanic is saying you need to restart your pivot to Asia button and switch it back to Russia. Now, speaking about Asia, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, is going to China tomorrow, where she'll be meeting with her counterpart, Peng Liyuan. And this is a very interesting article today in The Guardian. I really recommend reading. It's kind of a double portrait of the two First Ladies, a study in contrast, as it says. Basically, these two women share a lot of things. They're pretty much the same age. They come from modest backgrounds. They also, according to the article, have very stylish outfits. They're close to power. And they're both very famous. Now, the Chinese First Lady, for instance, she was a very famous singer. But according to this article, their relationship to fame is very different.
And finally, Flo's got an antidote to Twitter. This is in Norway.
That's right. You can read all about it in The Guardian. This is the broadcaster NRK. Now, their latest show is called Pip Show. And if we take a look at the computer, you can see what I'm talking about. What is this bird doing here? Well, basically, it's a show.
Getting drunk.
It's getting drunk at a bar. This is the latest in a series of things called slow TV broadcasts. This is very famous in Norway. Basically, this is a live feed of birds, and believe it or not, Norwegians are really big fans of this slow TV. Basically, they'll show very long programs. For instance, they showed a train to Bergen for 6 days. All these things. It's kind of an alternative to the frantic data overload we can see every day. What's ironic, though, is this is getting a lot of attention on Twitter.
Ideal. Can we just go home for the next half hour and just keep showing that show?
It's very addictive. Yeah. Be careful. It's very addictive.
Smiling at each other.
Flo and Stephen both hoping for a day off tomorrow, I think. Coming up, latest news, of course, here on France 24, plus as the crisis continues in Crimea. We're going to be talking to the young local recruits signing up to join the pro-Russian military, determined that their country will follow the Russian path. We'll be back, I think, anyway, after the break.